I'm at the middle school level, and I think what happens is Ms. West spoke about a lot of the elementary things, and some of it directly is the same, pretty much similar as far as the registration sheets for sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. The sheets are going to look similar. We use our sheets with different colors for different grade levels. But before I started with this, it jumped ahead on me. I had a question for the parents in the room. When you guys, and I don't want to cause any disturbances between anybody in here, but when you guys plan to go on a trip, do you just hop in the car and go to your destination, or do you look at a road map and try to figure out the easiest way to get there? Look at a map? Wing it? I would think most of the men in here would probably just wing it, because we don't want to be wrong when it comes to directions. But I use that analogy as far as academic and career planning, because our kids need to have a roadmap of what they're looking ahead to so that it matches with a career. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I wanted to go over a little bit of the career exploration with you guys today, talk about the registration process of what we do in middle school, and then talk a little bit about the academic and career planning piece. When I put this up here, I said it's not too early for our kids to start understanding and start exploring about what it is they're interested in. And I think back as to when I was in school, I wish I had a career interest inventory when I was back in school. It seems as though nothing matched up with whatever, and we were taking classes back in the day. I'm dating myself, but then we were just taking classes, and we were just hoping that we got to the end and we graduated, but there was nobody that sat down and went over the exploration piece with us to see what we were interested in, and so that would help us be more successful when we're picking classes and we're trying to figure out what we like. And our classes are going to be a direct correlation, because if we like doing something, we're going to have an interest in doing it. And so I say it's never too early to start. And I say when you talk about knowing your values are what you believe are things that are important to you as far as how you live and how you work. If we can start getting our kids to understand some of those values you're putting in your kids right now, the hard work that you guys are implementing or modeling for your kids, but they need to start understanding what are their values, what's important to them. And in this career planning piece, they learn a little bit about themselves. So when you start taking a career interest inventory, it's going to ask you questions. And in those questions, it's going to ask you things whether you like to do it or whether you don't like to do it. And it's going to kids are going to start finding out what they like to do, what they don't like to do. And it's going to identify certain skill sets with certain kids. They may be good in something. They might find out that they're good working with their hands. They might find out that they have an aptitude for computers. It just depends, but it's never too early to start this exploration piece. Then they can start researching career options. We want them to start doing that now, because what happens is in middle school, a lot of the classes that they need to start taking in middle school are going to be related to some of the careers or the academy programs they might be interested in. We need them to start looking at high school credit classes in middle school so that they give themselves more options. And that's what this is all about. Once they research those careers, now they can link their major. What classes do I need to take so that I can achieve that career or that goal and stay on track? And then we move forward. But I said it's never too early to start. She does, Ms. West at elementary school does Virginia View. And what we do is, I'm really excited about this. It's called Major Clarity. And this is a new program resource for career exploration. And with this, if you can see up here, it's a little bit fuzzy, but what they do is they take a career interest assessment. It's actually 48 questions on here. It takes about 5 minutes to do. So it's not hard at all. And over here on the left-hand side, you've got career paths, you've got actual pathways that we can look at. They can explore colleges. You can go in and click on any college and see what the requirements are for that particular college. And this gives them they can actually start a resume on here. It starts their academic and career plan. It's something that you can put in your hand that's tangible, so you can look at it and say, these are the classes that I'm taking. I'm on the right track. I can stay focused on what I'm doing. So this is a really good tool right now that we're going to be using in the middle school, actually this month, to get them started. So you click on the button and you take the test. And once you take the test, Okay, thanks for taking the test for major clarity, and it's gonna give you some information, some feedback. In that feedback, it's gonna give you a percentile. It's gonna say, 38% of your score fell in a social domain. It's gonna say 20% fell in a realistic domain, and then it might say 10% is unconventional. Well, the social side is gonna give you some careers that are gonna be in line with teaching, criminal justice, or something in the public sector where you're dealing with the public. So it's a social thing. So it's gonna match you up with percentiles of different careers that you can access. And the screen comes up like this. After you take the survey, based on the questions that you've taken, it's gonna give you a screen with some choices on the different career paths. This one I really like because it's a little bit more realistic in terms of they can visually see, and they can click on a specific career path. And what's good about this particular one is you guys can do this with them at home. So let's say we clicked on, I had an arrow on HVAC. Student is interested in heating, ventilation, air conditioning. When he clicks on that career path, what happens is it pulls up the screen here and it gives them the minimum salary and the mid-range salary for that position. And also, right there where it says connect, they will have videos. So what happens is if they're not really sure what a person does in HVAC, they can click on a video of somebody that works in that field. And they got a person on a video telling them what they do in HVAC. So it makes a connection with that career versus just reading something about HVAC and not hearing somebody that works out in the field. Also, it has another button if you pick a particular strand, a button over here on the side that says, like, try it out. It will actually take them through a scenario if they were working in HVAC, so they can hit on the button, what would you do in this situation? How do you do this? How do you do that? And it walks them through a series of questions to see if that's something they might be interested in. So I really like this one right here. Down here at the bottom, right here, is different levels. Level 1 would be, in that particular career, what careers pop up under HVAC that requires no education. No education requirement. Let's say level 2 is a student that has where the career requires a GED or a GED or higher. Then level 3 will be a student that's going for a 2-year associate's, and then it goes into a 4-year and then even higher. So it gives them levels of education of what's required for that particular career strand. This is the reason why I like this one. It's realistic for them, and it makes a connection because they can do it right there on the computer, right there in front of them. Here is where everything that they input in the computer is what you guys can see at home, and it actually will give you a one-page, everything that they're taking, the assessments. It starts their academic and career plan. When they take their ACT, they can put in their scores. When they take their SAT, they can put their scores in. This can be a part of their resume. This starts formulating everything that you can see as parents, and it tells you how far they've gone, what they've completed, and you can see all of their secondary and post-secondary goals, and this is a good way to make an engagement so they can see exactly what they need to do for graduation as it correlates to me transitioning those students on to Ms. Challenge over here at high school. In high school, you're going to hear Ms. Challenge talk about the diploma types, of which there's an advanced studies diploma and a standard diploma. Advanced studies diploma is 26 credits with non-verified credits. She will explain what that is to you guys at the next presentation. Standard diploma is 22 credits with 6 verified, okay, of those. And what we like to do for 7th and 8th graders is kind of have them continue taking the coursework that they're taking right now. But in 7th grade, I try to get them to start thinking ahead. What ends up happening a lot of times is if we're not challenging them to give them this information, by the time they get to the 8th grade and they want to apply to Lansdowne and they haven't had keyboarding, that's one of the requirements. That's one of the requirements to get into the STEM program is keyboarding. So we need to start on the middle school level. I'm talking to them about what classes they need in 7th grade and 8th grade to continue that so that they have the classes and gives them more options by the time they get to applying to an academic program or an advanced academic program, or preparing them for the tech center, the AT center, or one of those. But we try to encourage them to start those high school credits, because as we get to that point in high school, 26 credits is a lot of credits to get. The earlier they can start those high school credits, the easier it'll be for them to achieve that down the line. So there is a big push for us to try to make sure that they're in line so that they have options if they want to apply to any of these academies. Again, there's only 2 academies that have those requirements. Lansdowne STEM, under the IT portion, has the keyboarding requirement, and then the Governor STEM, they have to be taking Algebra 1, Nerve Science in the 8th grade to apply to the Governor STEM Academy. Okay, so those are a couple of the requirements. Tallwood High School is going to send us a registration form that looks like this, and what we do is we take that registration form and we give it to all of our teachers, and our teachers put the recommendations on here as to what they recommend for those students. And then we actually go into the classroom with those students, and then we actually go in and talk about the electives. We talk about the foreign language requirements. We talk about the electives that they can take that's offered at Tallwood. And actually, 85% of my students go to Kempsville High School, and the other percentage of our students feed into Tallwood High School, okay? And so this registration sheet will look much different than Kempsville's, and that's the way it operates. Certain schools, we operate so that certain classes are offered over there. All of them are on the sheet, but depending on staffing and things, some of those class courses can change. So we go over this with them, and then we make sure that they have everything that they need on this particular form. We take it in the classroom with them. We let you guys know ahead of time when the registration process is going to start, so you can expect these forms home. We encourage to have that conversation with them at home, so that the course curriculum guide is on many schools. You can look at any course, you can look them up to see what your child's taking in line with that sheet, and then that way you have an understanding so that when they pick classes in high school, they don't have the flexibility of changing classes like we do in middle school. So we always tell them, when you pick these classes, be very careful about what you're picking and make sure it's something you're interested in and something that you like. We then go back in the classroom and we take them in and we let the students take ownership in picking their classes. They input their classes into the program that we have, which is our Synergy program, and they go in and they log on and they input their classes in. And then we as counselors, after they put their classes in off of that sheet, we go around to each one of the students, make sure they have the required number of classes, and then we lock those course selections. The reason why we lock the course selections is because if I don't lock them, then when you go home, anybody can change it. Because all the student has to do is log on to their student portal, and they can go in and change the classes. We lock them. That doesn't mean you can't make any changes to it. That just means you need to contact us if you need to make any changes after we lock those. And then if it gets beyond me, these are actually immediate, so when I lock them, the high school can automatically see what's happening because they need those numbers for staffing, so they can understand how many kids are registered for what classes. So it's real time, but I want to encourage parents, you can see this. What you would see on here is every class that your child is scheduled for 9th grade. You'll be able to log in and see those classes right here on the screen. If you have a question about something, I don't want them taking that would be the time to contact me. We can make that change. After the deadline of the January 26th, when we have to have everybody in our building registered, then everything rolls over to the high school. So if you needed a change made at that point, you'd have to contact the high school and make a change. The student ACPs and registrations, it's all online. The ACPs will be in Google Classroom. Students are using those, so when I go into the classrooms, we do the electronic portion of the academic and career plan. It's a live document that changes. The student can go in and change it. As their classes change, they can change it, and that Google Classroom follows them to high school so that they can still access it once they get to the high school. So it's a good format, but just know that all of these registrations are done online, and when we go in, they're put in the computer, and they're locked in at that point. Academic and career planning, I go in and set up a Google Classroom, and I go into the classrooms and we go in and talk about academic and career planning. They've already done the major clarity piece, so they got the career interest cluster that they're interested in. They've got a form of an ACP already started with that major clarity, and then all they have to do is add some of that information to this academic and career plan. And this gives them a basic profile up here on the top with their basic information, and at the bottom is the career cluster, so they would take the information off the major clarity sheet and they will put it on here. this is something that so you guys can follow and track their academic and career plans. I think it's a good idea for you to watch that because then you can see 7th grade what they're taking, 8th grade what they're taking, what they're projected to take in 9th grade, and then Ms. Challenge takes that a bit further. They do 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay, so you're saying that's on the parent can access the Google Classroom?
No, I actually create a Google Classroom. Your child can access this. They will have a copy of this.
How do you parent access?
You have your child log on to it. I'm going to send a copy home of this with the course verification sheet in March. But you can have your child log on to their student profile, student portal, and they can actually go on into or log into the Google Classroom, and that document is right there live. You can see it.
So we can't do it independent of the student. Even though there's a Google Classroom parent connection, we don't have the ability to.
I can only invite parents, unless parents, I give a code, when I go in, they give the kids a code and they go in and they join my class. The parent isn't allowed, I don't know unless someone tells me different that there's access for them to, for the parent to actually, there's no code I can give you to log on and do this.
There is a code.
Okay, I learned something new with that. All right, so I will do that this year. When I do it, I'll talk to Ms. West and make sure that I click the right button to make sure you have access to it. So yeah, this will be something that you can go in and look at and change, with your child to assist them with that. And it's the same plan. It looks different up here, but it actually says 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, advanced studies, standard diploma, and then what classes they're taking. It's good to track the core classes because the core classes are going to go all the way through high school. They have to maintain that tracking. And so it's good for you to be able to see what's projected for them to take. At the bottom, it actually looks like Ms. West's form, but over here there's academies. If they have an interest in an academy on the right-hand side, and then over here in the middle, they can say whether they want to go in the military, whether they want to do an associate's degree, 4-year degree, what it is they want to pick in the middle, and then their career cluster goes over on the left-hand side. Kind of my timeline is that right now, we're going into the classrooms to do major clarity with the students. So that would be something that you can start looking at probably by the end of November to go on and see kind of where they started with the academic and career plan. In December, we're doing our elementary registrations, and in January, we registered our entire building, and then our academy applications are due on January the 10th. And then in March, the ACPs are coming home with the course verification sheets for parents to view. And just to finish, this is just a sample of Tallwood's schedule. So kids are on a block schedule. You'll just see a sample of what they take on an A day, which is highlighted. And then they take the other alternate classes, their other core classes, and their electives on their B day. So I just wanted to put up a sample of what your child's A day and B day would typically look like on the high school level.